Welcome to Dodgers Dogs. As part of the Dodgers Daily Network, today, fans, we have a very, very, very special guest joining Dodgers Daily, play-by-play voice for the Dodgers, Steven Nelson. Aloha.
What's up, brother? Hey, it's great to be with you again. How you been?
Oh, fantastic, fantastic. I know you've been super busy. I wanted to dive into this and kind of tell us what your schedule's been like lately.
Well, shoot, I was actually going to ask, what's your schedule? When's Guthrie fire things up?
We start next week, man. You had to remind me of that,
week?
Right? Yeah, oh yeah.
Man, like we were having this discussion the other day, like, you're hearing all these back to school promos and stuff. I'm like, gosh, it's still like early August. Like, I don't remember doing this until September growing up.
Yeah.
But man, next week, God bless. You ready for it or no?
Hell no, I'm not ready.
That's great. That's good.
Yeah, but it's going to happen, right?
Exactly. Ready or not.
Kind of like having kids. You ready to have kids? Oh, no. Can you afford it? No. Well, it's going to happen, though, right?
Yeah. As a father or two can vouch for that. It's the year's flying by, man. Gearing up for this stretch run. The schedule's been July was pretty nice. You had the All-Star break. Had some family time. I welcomed another nephew. My sister had another baby. Got to go see the family in Hawaii for a week, and then now we go. So I'm excited, especially with the Blue Jays coming to town. Should be a great series.
So the hat, did you get it in Hawaii or in LA?
No, it's actually a local guy here in LA County. It's so funny. Like, ever since I started wearing this hat, like my cousin got it for me, and it's a brand is called Island Works. Works with a Z. He's just one man band. Like, does it out. They makes great stuff like hats, trucker hats, snapback hats, beanies. Like, I didn't. By the way, it doesn't pay me for that. Like, just for any fans who might be interested. Like, I told them I appreciate the small business and obviously love the look of his stuff. So but it did come in handy whilst there on the islands. That's for sure.
I'm going to try to be cool here, and I'm going to say that thing has drip to it. I think that's how they say it nowadays. Is that right? Did I sound cool there?
That way. Okay. I think you nailed it. But then again, I'm like an old millennial now. I don't even know what gen letter we're on. But the terminology, I'm still now. I'm like, oh gosh, I don't know what that means.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so you were half Japanese from your mother's side. You got to go to Japan. You got to broadcast those games. What an amazing experience.
Yeah, that's putting it lightly. So that was my second trip to Japan. The first one I did back in 23 at the World Baseball Classic, and then going this year for the Tokyo Series. It was epic, man. I mean, talking to one of our Japanese staff members, it's like, hey, what do you think it's going to be like when we land there? And it was, hey, if you can imagine the Beatles and Beyonce touring together, that's what it's going to be like. And that wasn't an oversell at all. It was pure insanity in the best form. Just to see, Japan's a baseball obsessed country, and to see how on fire it was, the Dodgers in town. And it's funny playing those games. Like, the Dodgers were the road team, but it certainly didn't feel or sound that way walking around the streets or inside the Tokyo Dome. But it's always special going back, and experiences that I'll cherish forever.
Yeah, so I know you don't like to talk about yourself a lot, but was the Japanese crowd there, did they understand that you're half Japanese and that you've paved the way for other Japanese announcers?
Yeah, no, well, I don't know about that last part, and because I don't know how true that is just yet, but the fans there are in tune with the game, not just NPB, and not just the Dodgers, but Major League Baseball as a whole. Like, even Jose Mota is a celebrity there, because Jose was with the Angels when Shohei came over, and so Mota-san is wildly popular in Japan because the fans are following the Major League game, and so the broadcasters and the personalities that are the connective tissue, across the Pacific between their home in Japan and the player and or team that they're following in Major League Baseball, they love those folks as well too. So it definitely got more of that this time around, because in 2023 I hadn't started yet with the Dodgers, but now this is my third season. In the last two, having been with Shohei Otani and Yoshinobu Yamamoto, and now Hiroki Sasaki on the team too. Like now it's like, oh, like Dodgers, yeah. Like so get a little bit more of that, which is really cool.
Yeah. So one thing I kept thinking about, I would have sweated bullets about this, is that here you are, you're half Japanese, you're in Japan, you're in the biggest thing going in baseball. So I've got to bring the Japanese essence back to the viewer. Was that something that happened organically for you, or did you really spend time trying to figure that piece of the puzzle out?
Some of it's organic and some of it is intentional. Like just like the way I will say a Japanese name, or that is just me being like culturally correct or linguistically correct. I don't know how to the precise way to put it, but like even Oral, he kind of jokingly pushed me on that the last game that we did together. It's like Shohei Otani, like there's a little bit a little bit of the O, right? Because that's just how you pronounce it. But in other times, like for example, when we were doing the Tokyo Series exhibition games, like that was more intentional, because it's like, especially while we're there in Japan, to sort of tell the folks who are tuning in from back here, stateside, a little bit about like the Japanese baseball history or the Japanese baseball experience. That was more intentional, because I thought it's very important to kind of share those lessons and those pieces of history, because then it creates a better understanding. And that's kind of like my worldview anyway, beyond just baseball and broadcasting. But yeah, those are little things definitely are, like I said, more intentional and something that I do spend more time thinking about, and like, all right, how can I weave it in to this particular broadcaster story?
We'll get into this year's team here in a minute, but there's so many cool backstories that I want to get to. So the Commissioner's Historic Achievement Award ceremony, you got to introduce Shohei Otani. Yeah. Can you back us up to that and tell us how big of a privilege that was for you and what that was like?
Yeah, that was it was forever ago and yesterday. That was the Braves Astros series, so 2021, 22, 20, whatever it was. And so I was still working at MLB Network. I was, there on site, co-hosting Intentional Talk with Kevin Millar. And the commissioner's office said, "Hey, this is something that's happening, and we'd like you to be a part of it. I think it'd be meaningful and significant." And I was all for it. The only problem is my Japanese is very, very broken, very, very rusty, and so I was very, very nervous about that. Yeah. So I enlisted the help of my Auntie Grace, who she's a diehard Dodger fan. Her and my Uncle Ward, they're season ticket holders, so I get to see them quite often. And but she's fluent in Japan, or fluent in Japanese rather. And so I was telling her, hey, like, Auntie, these are the things that I'm trying to convey. And it's only like a pretty brief introduction. Like, I don't want, again, it's not about me speaking Japanese, but I just wanted both Shohei and all the Japanese media that were there to feel a little bit more comfortable, more seen, and more welcomed, as opposed to just like, hey everybody, like, welcome. Let's, I don't know. That was just something that was kind of like sitting on my heart a little bit. So that was the most nervous I've ever been in my professional career. And so when you see, by far, not even close. Because it really amplified my appreciation and respect for the multilingual athletes that we have around sport, but in baseball, who do interviews in their second language. You never feel more naked from a public speaking perspective than when you're trying to speak a different language. And so, you don't want to mess it up. You don't want to say the wrong thing. You don't want to be disrespectful. And so, I was sweating bullets, and like, it was so, what's funny is like, I haven't, I watched that clip, but like in a long time, but I remember, I think the part that I botched the most was just saying Rob Manfred's name in Japanese, because it's, it's in Japanese, it's not Rob Manfred, it's
Oh,
Manfredero. Yeah, yeah. So like, and that was like the one part. It was like that's the easiest part. I'm just saying his name, but like breaking up in the Japanese syllables. But that was the part that like tripped me up. So it was
that's
funny,
awesome.
funny in hindsight. But yeah, that was sort of the. It was a really cool thing. Shohei was really kind. Afterwards, we all went up into um, a suite there in Houston. Watched the game for a little bit, and Shohei was giving me his very kind props. He gave me an A grade,
Nice.
but I know he was just being gracious with that.
So Otani's a generational type player. I mean, he's like the Babe Ruth of our generation.
Yeah.
So you say, okay, well, I called him awesome yesterday. I called him inevitable. I'm running out of adjectives here. Do you have to like sit down and think of new adjectives every day?
No, well, yeah, no, you don't have to anymore because you've run out. I mean, this is
Right.
this
Recycling, right?
Yeah, exactly. You're just kind of all right. Well, I used awesome yesterday, so let's switch it up today. I used epic last week. Let's use something else today. Like, he's stretching the bounds of what we believe is possible, and he is stretching the borders of our vocabulary. So he's just a unique and special talent, but even beyond that, just a really special individual. The way he is able to compartmentalize and make each day go at his speed. Well, that's it up and until this year. Now he's got a baby girl to watch after. So no, it's no longer going at his speed. So he's otherworldly. Again, we could just keep going like that. That could be a fun game. Is just spend the entire interview saying adjectives for Otani until the other person taps out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Let's change gears a little bit again. A couple more questions here before we get into this year's team. I got to ask you, I can't remember I think it was a walk-off, but you were going crazy like you should have on the call, and then Rick Mundy just reaches back for the card and just casually, like he's seen it a million times before. Do you remember that? Can you tell us about that?
So Case, that's literally every call. That is literally every game with Mo. Every call and every clip that I post where I am just losing my mind, Mo is just, give me the Daniels Jewelers read. If he even if it's not a huge moment, if he just knows that somebody gets clipped, he's reaching back to our producer Dwayne McDonald for that Daniels Jewelers home run card. And people, it's my favorite part of every clip because I'm still relatively new into this play-by-play thing. And, really, joined the baseball world in 2018. That's when I joined MLB Network, right? So,
well, now hold on. You had all those high school broadcasts on the top of a caboose, right?
Yeah, Chapman University. We were in the broadcast shack at Hart Park in Orange, California.
Got to give Chapman their credit.
No question. But like I've only been in the major leagues, let's say, since 2018. Whereas Rick Monday has forgotten more baseball than I will ever know, and so he has seen and or experienced every single thing that this game has to offer. And so there is no moment that he is losing his mind. The Freddie Freeman walk-off slam in the World Series last year was the closest that you'll get to that, because he was just sort of like looking around like there's no, because that we hadn't seen, no one's ever seen that before in baseball, a walk-off grand slam in the World Series. And so that was sort of back in hindsight. I was just talking about this with Dwayne the other day because I have the booth footage of that. That's as close as you'll see to Rick Monday losing his mind. But other than that, Mo is cool as can be, just cold as ice.
No doubt. Staying with the theme of Rick Kjooki, you guys bring out stats. It's like you already know what's going to happen.
Yeah, totally.
And that doesn't always come from you. You got to give your statistician some credit, don't you?
we give Dr. Kjooki 99.9% of the credit. Rick is the best in the business, and I say that pretty comfortably. I've worked with so many talented researchers. Like MLB Network's research team is awesome. Like just as a unit, they are producing little packets for every single game that day. Like that set us up for success when I was at the network doing shows. But Rick is just on a whole nother scale. That's why we call him Dr. Kjooki, because he's got a doctorate in data and in stories. Every single game, we get game notes, we get pitcher's notes detailing the starting pitching matchup. And then for every series, we get series notes. So that's for the first game. And they are, I mean, they're just so detailed. But it's similar to the way that the Dodgers, as a front office and as a coaching staff at every level, kind of approach data and analytics. Like, what works for you? What do you want? Okay, it's there for you. If you don't want it, then you just skip on down to the next line.
Yeah, don't paralyze yourself.
Yeah, exactly. And so, but he is a special human. Then in the games, his ability to kind of read the game as it's happening, anticipate, what might be coming, and then I think he and I have gotten on the same page pretty quickly, because we've become good friends. We have similar senses of humor. We just like to give each other, that sarcastic humor and back and forth banter, and so we become great friends. And so now we're getting on the same page professionally too, where I'll like turn back to ask him a question and he'll hand me the card that it already has it. He makes our job so easy. And when we go on the roads, because he travels with Joe Davis, he does the Fox broadcast too. Rick does. So when we don't have him,
oh really? Okay.
Yeah. Cool. So when we don't have Rick, you can feel the void in the booth and on the broadcast, I'm sure.
All right, let's talk about this year's team. It kind of makes me pull my hair out, because at times I go, well, they went and got all these guys in the offseason. They have Shoei Otani. They spent $1 billion on the roster. So they're underachieving. And then I go, well, you know what? They've had all these injuries. They've had all these crap burgers they've had to deal with, for lack of a better term to find at the moment. So from that perspective, they've overachieved. So is this an overachieving team or an underachieving team? I know you probably can't answer that black and white, but dive into that.
No, the answer is yes. The answer is yes. I think that's fair. It has been a mixed bag, and you have to factor in a lot of different things, and like there's just so much context with this particular team and this particular organization, given the wildly active off season yet again, and just the ridiculous collection of talent that they have in the clubhouse at multiple levels, throughout the 40-man roster and beyond. And so in this current sports environment, like this era of sports fans, like everybody wallet watches, right? Like, so you are judging a player's performance kind of based on what their salary is or what their signing bonus was, or this, that, and the other. And in the same vein, you're judging teams based on where their payroll ranks. And so obviously the Dodgers, they're not one to be outbid these days, and because they want to do everything that they can to ensure that they have a stronger chance. There's no guarantee to win anything, let alone a World Series, but they have the strongest chance to compete each and every year. And so when you have gotten the fan base to a point where they are scoffing at another division title, as they have dominated this division for the last dozen years consecutively, right? It's not like win a division and miss the postseason, or win 3 in a row and then they finish last for a year. It's every single year. And so now you've gotten to the point where people are sort of bored and exhausted with that. They're so accustomed to it that they expect World Series. So when you don't run away with the National League West, the division you've dominated for a dozen years, why are you not leading by 20 games right now? Then in some people's eyes, you're going to be a disappointment. But then if you have the fans like yourself who are able to kind of lift the hood up and survey what is actually going on underneath the surface of the payroll and the number of all-stars and MVPs that they have on the roster, then you're saying, okay, like this is actually pretty remarkable that they're here. Given all the injuries to the pitching staff, how many different pitchers they've used. I mean, last year was 41 total throughout the entire 2024 season. And you're already there. You're scratching that. you're probably going to hit it soon, right? If not already. I've lost track, but you're definitely close. And the fact that you've really been without Mookie Betts since the first homestand of the season. For all intents and purposes, because he hasn't been Mookie. Freddie had a 2 months struggle bus ride, and Max Muncy was out for a month. Teoscar Hernandez hasn't been the same since straining the adductor and coming off with his Tommy. Like, the list goes on and on and on. Yeah. They have not had all cylinders all year long, so they let alone run on all cylinders. So I think it's whatever perspective you want to come from. It's probably fair, but I think still I'm with you in sort of respecting the fact that they have found a way to scratch and claw despite not playing close to their baseball. They're still in position again to win another division and make the post.
Two things I think I say on every one of our show, and that is Dave Roberts is going to be a Hall of Fame manager. If you compare his winning in the postseason and regular season to some of the managers that are in the Hall of Fame, it's the exact same. And then two, we have the best front office in the game, period, in a discussion. I'm not even going to argue that with anybody that wants to argue that. But I say that to say the trade deadline. I'm on record as saying I felt like the Dodgers needed to do a little bit more in terms of the bullpen and maybe even a little bit more on the offensive side of the ball. But that's not to say that's a criticism of anything or you're down on this or that. That's just to say that's my opinion on this one singular issue. So what are your thoughts on the trade deadline?
No, and again, I would say that is fair. But the thing that neither of us understand, unless you're inside that war room leading up to the deadline, we don't know what the other teams are asking. We do know, you can say pretty comfortably that the Dodgers were aggressive in their pursuit of a right-handed reliever, and we have seen the reports about certain outfielders who may not have been on the trading block, and so the Dodgers made pushes on both fronts, but ultimately a trade is a two-way exchange. That transaction is not just a one-way thing, and you don't know, how we value the MLB pipeline top 30 or the Baseball America top 30 prospects for the Dodgers organization may not be the same as an American League front office values them, right? And so you don't know who they're asking for, how many of those guys they're asking for. And so, and the reason the Dodgers front office is regarded as, you said, the best in all of baseball is because there is some restraint. And yes, I think, again, fair to look back and point out some cases where they maybe held on to guys too long before they, saw their prospect value go down in a deal. That's true, but then you also have the other side of that coin, the Seagers, the Bellingers, and the Will Smiths, the ones that they did identify as pieces that, hey, we are not moving off of them. We are keeping them, and that is how you sustain success, which is what they have done. So there has to be that discipline balanced with the aggressiveness. They were aggressive, and ultimately they made their moves and going with Brock Stewart to bring an old friend back, and then trading for Alex Call because the other pieces or the other trades that they perhaps tried to, the other teams, weren't engaging in a way that the Dodgers wanted. So, but again, I'm not going to say that's a blasphemous take that if you wanted to see the Dodgers do a little bit more, bring in a little bit higher leverage arm.
Yeah. So a nuanced question here, and I'm so excited to ask somebody who is not only watching the Dodgers games every single day, has seen every game, but is also around just the clubhouse and just the environment of it. So do the Dodgers right now, do they have, just talked about the trade deadline, did they have wants or did they have needs? I think there's a big difference between those two.
That's well put, and I agree with you. I do think that my first instinct was to say, yeah, they have wants. Other teams have needs, but this team has wants. But again, trying to keep context in mind, this is a World Series or bust organization. It just is. So with that in mind, I do think that they have needs to get that done. Like they need guys to get back healthy at this point because the deadline is passed. So they need Tanner Scott to be healthy. They need Michael Kopech to be healthy. They need Blake Trinan to be healthy. because if not, then that pen is thin. It just is.
Yeah,
Like again, that's no disrespect to the guys who have been in there and who have kind of been carrying the freight in the absences of those veterans in those high leverage, high talent, high priced arms. Not at all, but those are the experienced dogs, right? They've been there, done that, by and large. So you need those guys back. They need Tyler Glasnow and Blake Snell and Yoshinobu Yamamoto to be aces, because the way the offense has been for a while now, the inconsistency, they're going to have to pitch their tails off. So still a lot of season left. Like, and this lineup and that clubhouse, given their experience, like you want to say they have the ability to flip a switch and turn it on for the stretch run. But and I have faith in that too.
Sure.
But that's not a guarantee. So it's wants and needs at the risk of like giving you a on the fence answer. Like that's, I think that's where I would go with it.
Bravo. Well done right there, man. That was a well done answer right there, Stephen. No doubt about that. Okay, so a two-part question here.
Okay.
The Padres catch the Dodgers and this season flames out if, and then the Dodgers go ahead and win the World Series and reach their potential if.
Okay, two-part question. So if the Padres catch them if, and the Dodgers win the World Series if. The Padres catch the Dodgers if the lineup does not figure it out. Yeah. I just which is unfair to say because the first 3 months of the year, the lineup was just dragging the pitching staff along because the pitching staff was so banged up, right? And so the bats were the buoy for the first half of the season, seemingly. But now the pitching has been the one to step up lately. But the bottom line is if you don't get that lineup back to where it should be and typically is, then I do think San Diego has a better chance of running them down. And the Dodgers win the World Series if. All right, so I've already discussed some of the kind of broader strokes there. Like
sure.
they need the bullpen to get healthy. So I'm trying to think of like a super specific, a hyper specific, like in the weeds answer. I hate to put it on one guy, right? Because that's not how this game works. You know that, and I know that. But I think if Mookie gets back to being Mookie, man, does that get me fired up? Just thought of it, right? And getting a little taste on Tuesday night, and kind of seeing some positive energy and a smile back on Mookie's face, like that gives me a little bit of hope here for this stretch run. Mookie, it's for his entire baseball career, he has been the guy that is talked about as everything's easy for him. Baseball, bowling, golf, basketball, pickleball, you name it, Mookie Betts can ace it. We have never seen him struggle like this with anything. And that's to say nothing of the personal stuff. I'm family first always, right? And so there was no knowing, what losing his stepfather and being a father in general, we don't know that. So, but from a strictly on-field perspective, we have never seen him have any issues. So he's being challenged like never before in his life. Mm-hmm. If he can come through that and remember who the heck that he is, and that's Mookie Betts, future Hall of Famer Mookie Betts. I mean, I told him the other day, like this is Tuesday during batting practice. I said, Mook, like, for whatever. I showed him a video of my son because Mookie's his favorite player, and my oldest is 4. And I showed him a video of Kai, like, just losing his mind cheering for Mookie. I was like, don't forget that you're that guy that made thousands upon thousands of kids and people fall in love with the game of baseball. So if the Dodgers get Mookie back, then good luck.
Yeah, no doubt. So a couple of questions here. You've been very gracious with your time. So if I were to characterize this season and the end of it, this could be not necessarily a successful season, because it's not successful unless you win the World Series, but also at the same time not classified as a failure. Would that be fair if the Dodgers don't win the World Series?
Yeah, no, I said it a couple questions ago. It's World Series or bust. That's what makes the Dodgers, because day one of spring training at Camelback Ranch, been in that meeting the last 2 years now. Everybody gets up there and they address that. That's not an elephant in the room that people are kind of like, ooh. No, it's it's the number one bullet point in the number one meeting in the big league camp at Camelback Ranch. We are going to win the World Series this year. And if you're not ready for that or down with that, then you're with the wrong org. And so the repeating as a champion in pro sports, and obviously in baseball, I haven't seen it since the Yankees at the turn of the century. It is a wildly difficult thing to do, but no, hasn't scared anybody from the top of this organization on down, and certainly into that clubhouse. So if they don't get it done, everybody knows how the discourse is going to be surrounding the Dodgers this offseason heading into 2026, is how they failed. They, brought in, they spent all this money again. No. The same jokes and the same shots that everyone was preparing to take after Game 3 of the division series last year, those are queued up again for the 2025 season. So, but then that's just the way it is.
Yeah. So last question here. Thank you so much for your time here, Stephen Nelson.
Welcome, man. Thank you.
A wonderful honor to get to talk to you. So your honesty in your broadcast, whether it be an umpire that's missing calls behind the plate, whether it be a player that's struggling, whatever it may be, you have such a wonderful uniqueness in how you are able to present that. And in a game of negativity or a game of failure, that type of deal. Yeah. Where did that come from, and how do you execute that so well?
It's earlier this season, my dad texted me. He's just laughing. He's like, you got some Harry Carey in you. And and he's just like, just be like if you appreciate the history of Harry Carey and when he was with the Sox or the Cubs or the Cardinals, he would get on umpires, he would get on players, but there is a line. Like, you do have to maintain professionalism, right? And so I've talked about that with him and some other broadcasters, where like sometimes with umpires, like I maybe let it linger a little bit longer than I should on the broadcast. And so I've been actually working on that lately, because umpiring is it's a tough and thankless job. Like, you would prefer them to be like offensive linemen in football and really not know their names, right? But there's some dudes who just like to insert themselves into the action, and I hate shows. I hate them.
They're jabronis, right?
Yeah, nice jabroni. Look, like there's on one hand, it's such a layered thing. Like, you want to be a professional. I am a Dodgers broadcaster, so obviously, like, I'm not going to be shy about that. Like, you want the team to have success. You want all these guys to do well, because you know how hard they're working. But at the same time, if they're not, if there's a misplay, you don't want to, piss on the fans' legs and tell them that it's raining. Like, there has to be a level of honesty to what we're seeing. So, like, on the road trip, when the Dodgers are striking out 13 times a game, woof. And like that's just real. Like, it's not great. But here's the thing. Like, I'm not. If Mookie's 0 for 21, nobody knows that better than Mookie, right? So I'm never gonna like bury a player, because I can't dream of doing what they're doing. But I think in terms of broadcasting, it's just about being honest with what we're seeing, because the fans at home are smart enough to realize when what's good baseball, what's bad baseball, what a good call is, what a bad call is. And so I think it just makes it a more genuine, authentic experience. I'm working on it. Sometimes maybe I let it get a little too far over my skis with it, but yeah, that it's funny you bring that up, because I've definitely heard that a couple times this year. It's like, hey, like, Yeah, it's all right. We saw it was missed the call. Missed the call. You can move on to the next pitch. But if a guy's being a jabroni, then they're being a jabroni, Casey.
It's that simple. It's absolutely
it's
that simple. And that's what makes it authentic. That's what makes it awesome, and that's what makes it Steven Nelson, which is absolutely simply fantastic. Thank you so much for joining. What an honor.
The honor and the pleasure is always mine. I appreciate you carving out some time. I love chatting ball with you. I'm gonna have to hit you on the side here for some Dodger system updates, and
let's do it.
And we got the Blue Jays coming into town, and I know you got your own Blue Jays getting ready to hit the field back.
Oh yeah,
at
absolutely.
Guthrie. So pulling for you. Good luck with the start of the school year.
Steven Nelson, thank you so much.
You're the best.
All right, man. I hope I asked good questions there, brother.
Always, man. Always.